Good evening, everyone. This is Jane Beeman here from Euclid Systems Corporation. I want to thank you so much, one, for choosing to join us this evening. I really hope you've enjoyed the first part of the Ortho-K workshop. I'm really looking forward to the second part. I found it very educational this evening. I hope you did too. Now, I want to start by just giving you a little bit of information about Euclid for those of you who may not be familiar with Euclid. Euclid's actually one of the first companies to do work in the world of orthokeratology over 25 years ago. And so it is the product line, the only product line that we do is focusing on myopia and, uh, and the reduction of myopia uh, through the years. We have focused most of our attention on Asian populations where we could get the most learning and most applications for our design. So we pioneered, it got early FDA approval, was the first international company to get Chinese approval, same thing in Japan and Taiwan, and one of the only companies to have our own Chinese subsidiary. We have Euclid Systems Trading Company in in mainland China. You know, Euclid also has a strong network of distributors located strategically out around the world. So wherever you're located, in most areas, there is a distributor who handles Euclid lenses, and all Euclid lenses are made here in the USA, and then we ship them and distribute them around the world. I'm very pleased tonight to introduce our speaker. Dr. Jackson Lau is joining us, and Jackson is going to talk to us about when to actually use an emerald toric design and how to properly calculate what we need. Dr. Lau what did both his undergraduate and his optometry work at the University of California in Berkeley. He then did a cornea and contact lens residency at the Illinois College of Optometry. And he's been back on the West Coast in private practice for the last 5 years in a specialty contact lens arena. I'm also very pleased to announce that Dr. Lau has joined me as part of our clinical and scientific affairs group here at Euclid. So I'm very pleased to have him on board and giving some depth and strength to our team. So help me in welcoming Jackson, and we'll turn it over and listen to what he's got to tell us.
Thank you, Jane, so much for the introduction. I'm very excited to be joining Euclid at this time, given all the continued excitement for myopia management. As I'm sure many of our listeners are aware, a lot of our practices have seen an uptick in interest as parents are concerned about the effects of the pandemic on their children. Children may not be in their traditional classroom settings, or they may not be spending as much time outdoors. So more than ever, we need to have the tools to adequately utilize all forms of myopia management to help our patients. As we know, the goal of orthokeratology is to create a 360-degree semi-sealed environment between the peripheral cornea and the alignment curves to ensure proper fluid forces for corneal reshaping. The difficulty in achieving this alignment comes in toric corneas, where the astigmatism extends beyond the central 8 millimeters. We may describe this astigmatism as limbus to limbus, compared to the centralized or apical astigmatism that's within the central 8 millimeters. A general rule of thumb, which we will review later, is to consider a toric Ortho-K design when you have greater than 30 microns of sagittal height difference between between the steep and the flat meridians in the peripheral cornea. We may also consider a toric design when you just can't achieve proper centration using a spherical design. Lastly, just to note, as with our Euclid Emerald spherical designs, no diagnostic sets are required in the fitting of our toric lens. Here we see a graphical representation of a spherical Ortho-K lens with the rule toric cornea. In the right diagram, where the blue stars are, that's at the 8 millimeter chord in the horizontal flat meridian. We see that the lens is aligned properly as indicated by the fluorescein schematic below. In contrast to the left diagram, we see the alignment curves in the vertical steep meridian that are too flat. And this shows excessive fluorescein clearance and pooling at the red arrows. In such a case, post-treatment topographies may show decentration or irregular or incomplete treatment due to the incomplete 360-degree seal. We determined the sagittal height difference between the horizontal and vertical meridians at an 8 millimeter chord, as this tends to be the landing area of the cornea for the alignment curves. Once this difference in sagittal height exceeds 30 microns, we should consider a toric design. And we generally recommend starting with a 1 diopter amount of toricity at 30 microns of sagittal height difference. But for every additional 15 microns of sagittal height difference, we may recommend an additional half diopters of toricity. A really important note is to fit with the least amount of toricity necessary for good circumferential alignment, as too much toricity in the periphery causes the lens to be tight and may lead to lens binding and other unwanted complications. Depending on your topographer, there may be different ways to measure this sagittal height difference. Here we have a Medmont topographer where we've pulled up the analysis details, and we've specified the chord to be 8 millimeters. The software will then show the analysis where we can see that the flat meridian weighted average elevation is 1088.1, and the steep meridian is 1145.1. So we calculate the difference to be about 57 microns, and therefore we would recommend designing this lens to have about 1.5 diopters of toricity in the alignment curves. If you have other topographers, another method is to pull up the elevation maps, which will calculate the sagittal height difference similarly in reference to a best fit sphere. Your topographer may allow you to click or hover over each individual quadrant, the nasal, the temporal, superior, and inferior quadrants, at this 8 millimeter chord, and you may calculate it manually. In this example, we can see that the sagittal height difference between the horizontal and vertical meridians is around 42 microns, and therefore we would recommend starting with around 1 diopter of toricity in the alignment curves. So in summary, the Euclid Emerald Toric lenses can really help with centration, as well as provide more uniform and complete treatment zones for better vision. The elevation maps are very critical for the success as you analyze your patient's corneas. And just remember, it's always important to use the least amount of toricity necessary so that you don't cause complications such as lens binding. And with that, I'll hand this over back to Jane.
Thank you, Jackson, for that interesting overview. I also want to take a moment here and point out to you that there are fitting guides available for you on any of our Euclid products. If you start with a Euclid Emerald and you have decentration and you believe then there is a guidance to tell you when to step to a toric design, or if your topography analysis shows you clearly you need a toric, how to start with that. So these are available for you in your office at any time by just contacting us here. We also have patient brochures, and we've been working on a series of tutorial videos, one of which will be coming up on toric. So look for those things, and if you need fitting guides, you can certainly find those at our booth. Now, as you know, we do have a Euclid virtual booth presence here. I want to encourage you to go by there, ask for the patient brochures, ask for the fitting guides. Those are all made available at no charge for your practice, as many as you need, or for all of your doctors. The other important part about going by the booth is that we do offer commercial value packages. These are packages that allows you to net down the price of your Euclid products, and you can only get them by talking to the sales reps at the booth. So I think it's worth your time and your effort to go by. They have a lot of information available, and we'd love to talk to you there. Now, as a final thank you, I want to thank you again for taking your time to listen to our conversation tonight. I hope you enjoy the remainder of the workshop on orthokeratology from Dr. Liu and her other members. I want to make sure each of you have the websites at euclidsystems.com, and also here are direct emails for both Dr. Lau and myself. So again, thank you tonight from all of us in Euclid, and thank you for supporting our Euclid family of products.